Welcome back. In this session, we will talk about object oriented programming. So, this concept is available in other programming language as well, that is Java, PHP, Python. So, it includes the way how we see our code or how we organize our code. Object means whatever object is there in the real life. If you say a car, or a student, or a book, you can say these are all can be combined in their own respective classes. Let's see first what I mean. I will remove everything and then classes and objects. This is a topic we will be covering today. So suppose there is a data of string name is equal to Bill Gates. I'm just inspired by them. Then string college, you can say Harvard, I guess. Yep. And string okay. Int marks. It doesn't make sense to give marks to Bill Gates. Suppose 90. Now, this is the data of one student. That is why it's possible to just write it down like this and print it one by one. But what if there are many students? So obviously you won't just sit and write string name to is equal to Elon Musk like this, because it doesn't make any sense. Here, if you see, that is all the data name, college, marks can be combined into a class called student, and then we can mention these variables, or you can say properties, because when we are talking about object oriented programming, variables are known as properties and functions are known as methods. Both are same, just when it goes inside the class, their name has changed. Nothing, well, it doesn't make any sense to me, but on how why we call it like that. But you will understand. You don't have to think that much. So let's start. What is a class? A class is a blueprint or featured common to all its objects. Object we will understand in a while, but you can just from the definition only you can understand that it's the features common in all the data. So we just make it a separate class. Example, a student class. All students will have their ID and name. All students perform functions like study and play. So we can make it a class. In class functions, in class, sorry, functions are called methods and variables are called properties. As I discussed earlier, that these are just interchangeable, but they are called like this. Let's now create a new class, a first class student, int id, string name, then void study print, suppose studying, and just void play print playing. So now the thing is, this class has to be outside our main function. And here it is showing an error because we haven't mentioned that this um, variable will be null or not. So since we haven't assigned any value, we'll make it null safety, because if we would have assigned like this, then it's a different situation. But right now there is no value being assigned. So you can just say, if I have mentioned this class here, until and unless an object has been created, it doesn't store any memory. So you might be asking, I have used the word object multiple times, then what exactly an object means? An object is something that will assign value or access all variables and methods defined in a class. That is variables and functions, you can say. In our example, the variables are id and name, and function is study and play. So we have defined that those properties, but obviously in our application we have to do something to make use of the property, and there the concept of objects come into play. So we had a student class, but now what if we want to enter a student detail? Then we have to make an instance of that class. Let's try it. We will just write var student1 is equal to student and then parenthesis. It is called like this. That is the object creation, you can say. Then you will see we can just write student1 dot, and then we can access everything. First I will assign an id like 1, and then student1 dot name is equal to Bill Gates. Now if I print student1 dot name, and if I print it above, that is when we haven't assigned, let's see the output. See, first it's null because we haven't assigned the value. But then after, you can see, if we wrote like this dot and then access the property, then we can assign that property a value. And if you want to access the function, you can directly say student1 dot study. See, now it will show studying, and I will just remove this. Okay, this is one object, that is, this is one details of a student. Now if you want, you can just create multiple student like this. Student2 object is equal to again object, and then student2 dot id is equal to 2. So now you might be thinking, or you can just see, this assignment of value is little bit not clean, you can say, because we have to do dot this dot name. We can't write it again and again. So to tackle or to solve that thing, the concept of constructors arrive. So you now again you will ask, what are constructors? This is again a concept of object oriented programming. Constructors are just like functions within a class which will run before executing any other code in that class. irrespective of their position. I will explain it. As any other method has to be called, but even if we don't call a constructor, it will automatically get executed. It's you might be thinking, what's going on? What is exactly a constructor? First, I will simply teach you how to define a constructor. A constructor is declared by writing the class name with a parenthesis. The class name is student, and this parenthesis is like this. Okay, so this is a constructor. And when I mentioned that it will be executed first, irrespective of its position. If I write to this constructor at the last also now, then also first of all, when we create an object, this will be called, and you can just see this and this are basically same when it by their looks, or you can say by how it's written, they are both the same. And the second feature of a constructor is that a constructor is like a function, as I said, but it doesn't have any like this return type. They don't return anything, it can just execute within this class. So what we do most of the time is we assign a value. And first of all, I will just show a constructor and just write print, this is a constructor, and sorry for this semicolon. And I will again just create one class, and now you see the code is written from top to bottom, but first of all this will be printed. From there only you can understand that the constructor is executed at the very beginning. See, this is a constructor, then Bill Gates, and then studying. So this is the meaning of a constructor. Just remember, it's the same name as the class name, and they don't return anything. You will ask me, so okay, I have understood the constructor, but what is the use of it? So mostly we have, before the use, we must know what is a parameterized constructor. Just like in a normal function, how we send parameter or how we send arguments, in the same manner we have to send an parameter to this constructor. So, and then that parameter will be assigned, that is the value will be assigned to the variable present in that class. Simply, here we were assigning it like this, but now onwards we will just send it, and then it will be assigned like the, like let's write the parameters at first, int id, and then string name. Okay, and then first thing will be this dot id is equal to, I will name it student id, just to, just so that the names are different. And this will be student name. This dot name is equal to student name. Now see, now we have, it's mandatory to send that two value. The first will be I guess first is id and second is name. Now I don't have to mention here, and if I run again, you will see same thing. Because, and if you want to check, I will send 100, and then let's check the id. say id. So this student class now can assign a value. This concept will be used a lot of time while building a real application using Flutter. Yeah, next example, you can just simply see if var student 2. It's so easy now to create objects. Var student 2, then 99, and then Mark Zuckerberg. And then I will just add student2 dot name. You will just see this is a constructor two times it's called because we are creating two objects. That is the main reason. So I hope you have understood the concept of classes, objects, and constructor. You just have to understand this much. More we will see where it is being used when we are in the Flutter session. So that's all for today. Thank you.